Yeah, so fantastic. I would say first I'll take it from the emails I received side, and then I'll tell what I did going into the process. So it's funny because two of my what I consider mentees now are people that I met online, that emailed me and were like, hey, I want to chat with you, and now we know each other pretty well. I think that's so cool, right? I got these cold emails, and now they're people that one of them works at Hellman and Friedman, and I think actually they both accepted offers at Hellman and Friedman, and I've known them since they were interns in banking. So, I mean, literally just crazy to watch that progression. And I love that kind of thing. So I would say, number one, demonstrate your passion, right? So demonstrate that you've done the work. Don't just send an email that's I'd love to chat with you. It's hey, I saw in your background that you did X, Y, and Z. I'm super curious. Have a specific question, because the calls for me that were the most painful, or the emails that are hardest to respond to, are the ones that just put the ball in my court. Take the ball away from me. I don't want it, right? I want you to tell me what you need from me, and then I want to be able to provide that for you, but I can't just infer what it is that you're looking for. So tell me what you're looking for, and I'm going to probably try to help you, right? So that's number one. So just people that jumped off the page tended to be the people where I did respond most. Then when you get someone on the phone, this is always true, case in point, the conversation we're having right now, people love to talk about themselves. And so it's have questions ready, right, to be able to ask things about that person's career trajectory, and then have done enough work beforehand that you can ask smart questions about the organization. So don't ask what the AUM is. You can find that online. So have done the pre-work to make sure that you've got your bases covered on the obvious questions. And then the thing that was hardest for me is don't ask me about the HR process, right? I think that's the thing that candidates really get wrong. They'll call and they'll be okay, so how does this process work? And it's no. There's an entire team that manages that, right? Ultimately, when you get the investment professional on the phone, you're looking for them to send your resume to HR, right? And I've done that for a lot of people, where it's I'm forwarded on and get someone in the process, and I put the weight of my word behind somebody. But don't ask about the logistics, right? Someone else can assuage your anxiety around that. The investment professional is not that person. And so I would say, just on the receiving end, that's kind of how I thought about it. When I was preparing to go through the lateral recruiting process from Goldman to Blackstone, I sat down with this girl that I had met when I was a summer intern at JP Morgan Fig. So I think, this is one more general piece of advice. Find people that inspire you and that you can look up to, and you're okay, I want to follow in your path, because those people have done a lot to figuring out the ins and outs of these processes, and then talk to them. So I took this girl out for coffee, and I pumped her for information for an hour, and I owe her my job at Blackstone. I mean, honestly, she was amazing. And she just walked me through. She was look, this is how the headhunter, she had figured it all out, right? And I could supplement some of it with my own research, but she'd already put the picture of the process together in her mind and was able to share that with me. And the efficiency gains I got from that conversation were unreal. I mean, just phenomenal. And so, I ended up meeting with all the headhunters fairly early. And then the thing is, you want to be, the partner I used to, Huntley, always used to call me politely persistent. So that you want to be politely persistent, right? So if you're not hearing back or whatever, don't be annoying, but hey, just wanted to check in, whatever, right? And often I've sometimes dropped the ball on getting back to someone, or setting up a call or whatever. And when I get those emails, I'm oh, right, I forgot to do that. You know what I mean? So be politely persistent, always be just super courteous and respectful of people's time. But if you don't get the response, it's fine to send a bump. You know what I mean? They're not going to hate you for that. So that was another big thing. And then I would just say, in general, knowing what you want. It's really hard talking to someone who's well, I want to work at, a small fund, but I also want to do big deals. No, right? You got to know what it is that you're looking for in an investment strategy, in a culture. And so doing that, that's an internal process. So gather the information and then sit with it and go, okay, what fits me? And that work needs to be in your court before you go through the process, because the biggest mistake that I've seen in people is they'll gather as many offers as possible, which is, by the way, what you should do. Optionality is always great, but then have no idea how to make a decision because they haven't developed a framework for what they want, right? And for me, it was I knew going into the recruiting process that I had 3 top choices, and they were, Blackstone was actually number 1, and I had 2 more. And I pursued those firms relentlessly, because sometimes you have to make trade-offs, right? Especially when the lateral recruiting process is as crazy as it is. Sometimes you can't get to all the interviews that you want to, right? So you have to be okay, well, what's my probability of getting a job at firm Y, but I like firm X better, even though my probability there might be lower. Just really doing that thought process and being as self-aware and honest with yourself as you can be going into that.